Well, come on, guys. It's pretty clear to drive a Formula One car in today's age, you've got to be quite the athlete. Now, those drivers on the grid, there's a fair few that I think could comfortably cross over into another sport. Perhaps not rugby, but things like golf, football, or soccer. I'll let you guys fight over the correct terminology on that one because essentially you're all a bunch of hooligans. And of course, racket sports are popular. Tennis, squash, and paddle. Doesn't sound so masculine though, does it? I'm just going to play some paddle. But speaking of masculinity, we're going to talk about rugby union, a game played by big brawny men smashing each other on the field. It's also a team sport that contains a hooker. Yes, you heard it right, a hooker. Now, it's not to be confused with the other egg ball sport, namely rugby league. Similar in a way, but different. Well, without further ado, let's just get stuck into it and let's build our champion-winning Formula One rugby team. Now, if you are a viewer from the US, I apologize, but we're using kilos today. We're not into the pounds, okay? And I believe Nico Hulkenberg is the heaviest, 78 kilos ringing wet, and the lightest, I believe, is Yuki Tsunoda at 54 kilos. So definitely, we're not going to be a big rugby team, but let's hope we can be a skillful one. Well, we're going to start off with the back line, which obviously from the scrum half down to the fullback. Let's start there. I know everyone's interested to know who the hooker is, but we can find that one out later. Now, I'm going to go straight away with Lewis Hamilton as my fullback. The fullback's a very important position. He's got to be good under the high ball. Needs to know where to place himself in defense, particularly if the opposition is going to kick. Or he becomes the last line of defense, of course, if the backline defensive system breaks down. He's got to be quite fast, elusive on his feet, basically make good decisions, have a good kick on him. He's my fullback. I've seen him on a scooter. I reckon his footwork's good. He's older. He's an older head. He's experienced, and plus he's got British blood in him. So there's got to be a little bit of rugby pedigree in there. So Lewis is my number 15. Now the wingers, traditionally, a lot of teams now are going with a power winger and a smaller winger that's really elusive and can get around the field really quick. But essentially, at the end of the day, they are the guys that should be finishing off the tries, the backline moves. And I'm going to go straight with Pierre Gasly on one wing. He's French. French produce some of the most glorious backline players. Elusive, flair. The French, they do it well. And I think, well, when you look at Gasly, I think he's got twinkle feet. He's going to move, find a gap. I think he's going to be quite elusive. Not sure about his top-end speed if you base it on his car, but hey, look, he's French. That's good enough for me. Now, on the other side, I'm a little bit conflicted here because I'd love to have a power winger, but look, we just don't have that luxury today. And, well, I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc. And the reason being is, well, the wingers, it's a little bit of a running joke amongst the rugby crew that the wingers tend to be the pretty boys of the team. They don't like getting, involved in tackles, and they just like all the glory, finishing off the tries. So, look, you can't go past Charles. He's going to bring the female fans to the game. He's close on the sideline, so he's close to the crowd. And I think Leclerc fits that position perfectly. Now, let's start from the scrum half. Now, I think a lot of people are probably going to go, Yuki Tsunoda, straight in as scrum half. Well, no, I've got news for you. Because I want a scrum half that is going to be yappy and get under the skin of the opposition. And you know who fits that? I think Isaac Hadjar is going to fit that role perfectly. Look, he hasn't done it quite yet in Formula One. He's kept a lid on it on the radio. But if you go back to his F2 days, he gets hot under the collar. I reckon he's definitely the pick as scrum half. He's French as well. French currently have one of the best halfbacks or scrum halves in the world going around, Antoine Dupont. Now, I've probably butchered his name. Forgive me. I do not speak French. So probably massively butchered that. But anyway, he is definitely my pick at number 9 because generally in rugby, your number 9, he's the smallest guy on the field, the biggest mouth on the field, starts the most fights on the field, but never gets involved in the fights. So he starts them, walks away. So Isaac Hadjar, scrum half. Now, fly half is pretty straightforward, I believe, because we're just going to put good old George Russell in there. So he's a guy that's generally the first receiver. He decides the backline plays, the moves that you'll either run it, kick it, or pass it. Now, I think George Russell, he's going to be a bit more of a traditional old school fly half. I don't really see him running at the line. I don't think he would like to make too much contact. I also think he's going to be a very much a weak link in defense, which some fly halves, international fly halves are, and they tend to defend out on the wing. But look, George Russell, he likes to organize people. I think he's going to be the commander of that back line with the plays. He is essentially a no-brainer. Again, bit of British blood. He's got to have a little bit of rugby pedigree in him. Now, 12 and 13. Now, I'd like to have my 12 as a bit of a power runner. Can, get over the advantage line. I'd love them to be in the sort of Ma Nonu mold. But look, we're dealing with Formula One drivers here. But I'm going to give that role to Liam Lawson. Look, he's a bit of a nugget. Old Liam. I think he's got a little bit of aggression in him if he needs it. I need my 12 to be good on both sides of the ball, right? He needs to be a punchy offender, but he also needs the skills to distribute and obviously kick, because naturally the 12 will come in and take that 10 role if, say, George Russell is tied up in a ruck. Look, he's rocking the slug lately, that Mo. Maybe gives him a little bit more intimidation. Looks a little bit more sort of old school, sort of like 1970s. Look, he's a Kiwi. He's got to have some rugby knowledge there. So Liam locked in. Now, my 13 for me is a no-brainer. Oscar. I reckon Oscar would be a bit like the Sterling Mortlock. Great Australian centre. He's unflappable. I think he will just work that 13 position perfectly. You need a 13 that is a good defender, obviously good on their feet, can get into the gaps, but very importantly, a good distributor. So he needs to get his outsides, some space. So throw a good ball, obviously, to Pierre, or maybe Charles, or the injection of Lewis from the back. But I just think he's a high IQ racer. I think he's just going to be a high IQ rugby player as well. Aussie, yeah, no-brainer. Okay, that's my back line. I'd love to know your comments. Please throw them in there. I'd love to know what your ideal backline would be. Now, moving on to our forward pack. And we're going to start off with the props, so 1 and 3, and of course the hooker at number 2. Look, I'm just going to get it out of the way. You all know who the hooker needs to be, wants to be, etc. And well, Yuki's going to be our little hooker in the team. Now, a lot of you might be a little bit surprised with that. You might think, well, he would be the scrum half, but he's going to be in the mold of one of those sort of nuggety, low center gravity type hookers. Look, I think there's a little bit of aggressiveness in Yuki as well. We've heard it on the team radio. His core role is obviously to throw the ball into the lineouts, get around the field fast. I think he's got big, strong legs, old Yuki. I think he will nail down that position. So he is our hooker. Now, alongside him, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because we don't really have big slabs of beef on these Formula One drivers. But if I'm going for a couple of props, generally, props need a lot of brawn, not a lot of brains. No disrespect to Lance here, but look, Lance is a prop. And one of the reasons why is we're going to paint him green, and he's going to look like Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk. So it's a psychological factor on that front. We are going to win the psychological battle before we even enter the field. And what better way than to paint Stroll green and he becomes Lou Ferrigno. And on the other side, well, we're going with Franco. And the reason being is he's a bit of a nugget as well. And although we haven't seen it yet, he's Argentinian. We know about you Argentinian fans, aggressive. So we're going to see that with Franco come out at some stage. But also, like, the Argentinian rugby team, some of the best props. They know all about the dark arts of the scrum, okay? So we're just going to assume Franco Colapinto being Argentinian, he just sits straight into that role, because I was tempted to put him at number 12, but he is one of my props. Now, I'm going to go straight into the locks here, 4 and 5. That's pretty easy, because we have a couple of string beans, okay? We've got teammates here from Haas, Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon. Now, Ollie, unfortunately, look, the guy can't bust a grape in a fruit fight. He's definitely not going to be an enforcer. but we just want him there for his aerial skills. I'm pretty sure he's got long arms. He's definitely got a long neck. He'll be good in those lineouts. And Esteban, well, again, he's all legs. He's all arms and probably has good reach on him as well. So clearly a lock. French. So you'd know about the dark arts of the scrum as well. Ollie, of course, British. He should have a little bit of rugby pedigree in him as well. Most rugby teams, this is all about finding the right balance with your back row, 6, 7, and 8. We need an enforcer, and it's pretty straightforward who that is going to be. Max Verstappen. He's going to be my blindside flanker. Look, he's going to get stuck in both sides. In offense, defense, he's going to run hard and straight. He's going to smash people in defense. Look, we don't have any South Africans, unfortunately, and I think he's just going to take that traditional South African flanker role. Big, hard, never take a backward step. That's Max Verstappen. Don't even have to talk any more about that. Pretty straightforward. Now, on the other side, open side, I want someone that can get over the ball, steal a few, steal the opposition's ball, big engine on him, can get around the field, aggressive as well. And when I'm looking at what we've got left, I'm going Alonso. The old head. Look, nothing's going to scare Fernando Alonso. He's seen it all. He's been to the bottom, been to the top. He might be the unluckiest driver in the world, but he's going to make a mighty fine open side and smash people. And that leaves number 8 for the starting team. And look, again, part of it is the psychological battle. Hulkenberg, big, strong, number 8, can carry off the back of the scrum. Look, we're going to shorten his name. It's not going to be Hulkenberg anymore. It's just purely going to be Hulk on the player starting sheet. And again, part of the psychological battle, we have Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk, and we have a player named Hulk. So that's good enough for me. So there you have it. The starting 15, I think, is pretty competitive. I would love to know what changes you guys would make. I mean, there are a few tough positions there to go for, but I think it's a pretty comprehensible, pretty decent starting 15. Like I said, Yuki, strong legs, get around the field. Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. Calapinto, dark arts, Argentinian. The enforcer, Max. The man that's seen it all, won't take a backward step. Fernando there, open side. The string beans in the middle, the locking partners there. Esteban and Ollie Behrman. Well, Hulk, psychological, big lad at number 8. The guy that's going to start all the fights on the field, no doubt about it. He's going to start them all. But unfortunately, he doesn't want George Russell backing him up. Definitely needs Max Verstappen there, of course, to finish it off. George Russell, just a traditional number 10. He's going to find territory, shuffle the ball on. He won't get into the argy-bargy stuff, no doubt. Won't want to mess up his pretty face. Liam Lawson, good on both sides of the ball, punching holes, getting over the advantage line, kick when he needs to, pass when he needs to. Oscar, well, just high IQ. He's just going to distribute the ball when needed, kick the ball when needed, or just take it up when needed. He's going to be all over the field. Charles Leclerc, poster boy, scoring the tries, loved by the female fans. Won't do much else, but that, score tries. Pierre, well, he'll bring the French flair, of course. And I think he'd be pretty handy on the wing. And of course, the old head, Lewis Hamilton. Now, captain. Who should be the captain? Now, I think, look, I'd love to go with Max, but he'll be pretty hard pressed to stay on the field for a full 80 minutes. I mean, he'll be lucky to get 20 minutes and get binned. So I'm going to go with someone, I've got to go with George Russell, captain of the team. Vice captain, I want someone in the forward pack. Let's go Alonso, old head, fully experienced. Now, look, 23 players are normally in a rugby team, so 8 on the pine, but we're just going to have a couple of guys that can sort of multitask. Now, Antonelli, he's going to be my other scrum half. Now, he'll probably receive the ball at first, put it on the ground, start kicking around like a football. The true Italian will come out in him, no doubt. So he could be a liability there. We need another specialist, tends to be another hooker. It's always good to have 2 hookers on the team, of course. 2 hookers. Well, I think that role is going to go to Carlos. I think he'd make a mighty fine hooker, and he can just replace the guys in the front row as well. Bit of that Spanish aggression. I think he'll go all right there. Now, Bortoletto, another string bean. He's going to essentially just cover the locks should Ollie or Esteban go down with an injury. Alex Albon, he can get pretty feisty, and I think he's going to be my back row support guy. Like, he's going to replace Fernando, Hulk, or Max. I just think there's a lot of aggression in him, and I think get him on the field. I think he's going to surprise some people. Doan's there, of course. He was a driver this year, so he's definitely in the mix. He is going to be my replacement sort of center wing. If, say, Liam Lawson goes down with an injury, we move Oscar into 12 and we bring Jack Doohan out into 13. And then you've got like an exceptional Aussie pair there in the centers. And Lando Norris, he can cover 10 or 15. You can still put him on the wing if need be. He could potentially still cover number 9 if you had a major injury crisis there, but that's how we're going to roll. You need a coach. And, well, you can't go past someone with rugby IQ, a guy that has actually played rugby in his junior years. So we'll make a little, look at those legs. Well, no other than Toto Wolff. So there you go. He's got a rugby, look, he's got a proper rugby rig on him. So yeah, probably a bit of a string bean lock if you look at him at that point, but he is our coach, Toto Wolff. He is going to be the master, control the team. There you have it, a Formula One rugby union crossover. If you're still watching this, well, I'm not too sure why, but if you like the content, give us a thumbs up, maybe a sub. And, well, there you have it. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you would make any other changes. Again, you can only work with what you got. It's definitely not going to be the biggest rugby team on the pitch, but perhaps they may be good enough to surprise a few. Well, there you have it. There's the rugby team crossover. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will, of course, catch you on the next one.